Once you've completed your quizzes or your assessments, you will have a rich source of data and teachable next steps in action. So I'm going to bring up a sample report, which you can do so yourself in assessments just under the Assign button by clicking Sample Report. I'm going to be taking a look at the genetic variation pretest data and using that as a way to assess next steps for my students, recommendations they got from the quiz or the pretest, and what that can look like for my classroom teaching. So inside the report or inside any quiz you set, there is a report button at the top. You can see immediately on a bar graph scale, just sort of the spread of how your students have done. So where are you starting? Also, then you can go down to individual students. If you want to filter it by last name to match your role, you can do that. If you want to look at highest to lowest, you can filter by percentage. And it's really good to contextualize the percentage or raw score with the time spent. So if the students got 90% in just a couple of minutes, it was not particularly challenging for them. And so they're coming in with a lot of pre-knowledge, and you may want to work on some extension as you go. For the students that did very low, you may want to also look at the time. If they got, for example, 0% in 1 minute, you probably instead need to click on their name and there'll be a reopen the test button and give them another go at it because they probably submitted it by accident or didn't really give it a proper go, and the data is not going to be worth really telling you anything in that case. If the students did multiple attempts, if you are allowed multiple attempts in a quiz, you'll see attempt numbers 1, 2, 3, for example, and improvement across them, which can be really nice too. If you need to export these results at all, you can export them as a spreadsheet, and that can be really good for turning raw data into curriculum levels and processing the results afterwards. Based on the topics that you chose, there will be analysis and recommendations. So these are the topics that were in the quiz, and I can see at a glance the strengths and weaknesses across my class. So alleles were the real strength for this class, but the structure of DNA was a weakness. And at a glance, I can see this is an area when I go to structured DNA, I probably need to spend a bit more time, a bit more focus, or start a bit lower and work my way up. Whereas when I get to alleles, there's some pre-knowledge there, so maybe I can just start standard and then really work and spend some time to extend. You'll see which students got recommended which lessons to work on follow-up, and I can use that for grouping and for further work as well. So those allele students, which 6 students might need the most focus or support when I come up to teaching that, or do I want to group them when I do particular grouping activities? The per question breakdown is useful if everyone in the class got given the same questions, but if you generated a unique assessment for each student, this can be very skewed in its results based on the number of students that saw it. So for example, 20 students got this allele expression question, so that 85% average is probably quite accurate. You can click the question to see it. Whereas some of them, like the question about alleles, where only 3 students saw it and only 1 out of the 3 got it right and the other 2 got it wrong, it's a bit harder to judge how accurate that was.